When you snuggle with your dog, do you ever wonder where her mouth has been? You know, dogs are wonderful, but their personal habits can be a little off-putting at times, can't they? Well, forget punishment. Poop-eating dogs need different management. Has anybody here ever had this problem with their dog? Well, give me some details. Just type it right into the comment line. Let's talk about this thing, see if we can, help you out with it. I'm going to explain why it occurs and what we don't know about it and what we can do. And by the way, just in case we've never met, I'm veterinarian Dr. Jeff Nickel. I'm residency trained in veterinary behavior medicine with a long career in general practice. So if you have questions about a cat or a dog's behavior or any other physical problem, by all means type it in, interrupt me, and I'd be happy to share any kind of information that I can. This poop eating business is something that this species right here is known to carry out and engage in with gusto. Cats don't do this. It just never happens. So let me start out with inviting everybody to let me know that technically we're working out here, that you can hear me. Hit the wow button. And if you find this information helpful, or if you'd like to share this with a friend, then send me some hearts so I know this is useful. And you can put anybody's name in the comment line and share this video. You can go back to my Facebook page later and send it to them, or send them the link. So I'd like to read you a question that I answered in my newspaper column in the Albuquerque Journal, where I've written a column there, mostly questions answered every Friday morning for, since 1996. And I've never missed once. So, and I give them titles, although the editor at the paper often doesn't agree with my headlines. I don't know what's wrong with those people, right? So this one I titled, Coveting Another Dog's Stool. And I wanted it to sound kind of biblical, because, that's what some dogs do. Some eat their own, some eat other dogs. So here's the question. Our dachshund Scooter is 16 months old. Do you want to sit back up? Yeah, you're a big girl. We have 2 older dogs as well. The problem is that Scooter likes to eat their poop. We've tried giving the older dog supplements, spraying the poop with distasteful things, and we keep it picked up. Well, of course, it continues happening. And by the way, these are all methods that have been recommended in the past, and in some of the older textbooks on veterinary behavior medicine, you'll see these remedies recommended. We'll talk more about what works and what doesn't. So here's my answer. This is truly a revolting behavior, like people don't already know that, right? Puppies who partake in this detestable delicacy are usually just playfully investigating the wide world around them. And puppies do. I mean, everything is not nailed down as a toy. Middle-aged, older dogs can become recyclers because of stomach or intestinal disease. It can happen. Kidney failure in the advanced stages, in part because the ammonias and they develop uremia, which is a problem where waste products in the blood have not been eliminated by the kidneys, and that can affect brain function. And in fact, it can do it permanently. Certain medications, like corticosteroids, and dementia, which is in dogs who are 12 to 14, 28% of dogs in that age group have cognitive dysfunction or dementia. And they can certainly do it when it was something they never did before that. But for Scooter, the young adult gangster of bad taste, confinement, insufficient social contact, inadequate environmental enrichment, like enough canine-specific behaviors that he can engage in, or social isolation, which can occur with another dog in the home bullying him, those can be partly responsible for this behavior. But the great majority of dogs don't have any of those factors. They just do it. And so, like most intriguing behaviors, coprophagia, which is the medical term for eating stool, has been studied. And the typical criminal profile of the coprophagic dog next door includes retrievers, although it's not limited to them, but more often than other breeds, fast eaters, and that's a very common factor. Oh, do we have cat feeders, Carolyn? Oh, thank you for the iPad.
Okay, you
And
want a cat feeder?
yeah, I never even asked for them, so thank you.
They were doing well.
Yeah, they were doing pretty well. But, we want to motivate them to keep coming back for more.
Oh, yes.
More Facebook Live events. Thank you. Here you go, gentlemen. And I use that term loosely. And here's the other one. Here you go, Tony. This is Tony, by the way. This is Gaston, the fuzzy white guy. And, of course, this is Miss America. I don't know if I introduced her. So, retrievers more often than not, fast eaters, dogs who have been spayed or neutered are more prone. We have no idea why. Statistically, though, that's the case. And those who were quickly house trained. Interestingly, dogs who seem smart enough to pick up that skill immediately, statistically, by no means all of them, but have a greater tendency to be stool eaters, coprophasic. Evil lurks where you least expect it. Well, this week, these methods that you've used only work on dogs who are trying to quit anyway. You know, the supplements, the spraying the poop with distasteful stuff, picking it up quickly. A hardcore poop addict, like Scooter, can be allowed outside wearing a basket muzzle and then reinforced with a treat for coming back immediately when called. You can use a clicker to reward him instantly for walking away from temptation. And those are absolutely the only good ways to do this. Has anybody tried methods like this or any other methods that you found that may have been helpful? And look who's here, Ann Manners. Hello, Ann, and thank you for tuning in. Ann's my excellent sister-in-law who does not have a dog. She has 2 wonderful cats, and I am sure that they don't eat poop because cats are, I don't know, they just have too much good taste for that? I don't know. Anyway, let me read just a little bit of a research paper here. Excuse me, Tony. I don't mean to disrupt my cats, but this is one that's called, and I'll turn the camera around so you can see it. This is the paradox of canine conspecific coprophagy. Conspecific means a dog who eats the stool of other dogs. And of course, if you live in a rural or a semi-rural area the way we do in the North Valley of Albuquerque, we hike on trails near the irrigation system, and of course people have ridden their horses there, and there's horse manure, and dogs will eat that. They'll love to eat cat poop, and for different reasons. But eating dog stool is a particular problem, and this particular study was done on dogs who eat other dogs' stool, like Scooter in the question. So let me just read you a few parts of this. The researchers set out to determine the factors associated with the occurrence of this behavior and to evaluate the efficacy of 11 products marketed for treating coprophagy, as well as behavior modification procedures. Statistical studies. Okay? They did 2 web-based surveys. One yielded 1,552 returns, the other yielding 1,475 usable returns. The findings revealed that 16% of dogs engaged in frequent eating of the stool of other dogs. 16%, that's a lot. You know, it's not the majority, but it's not rare by any stretch. Okay? No evidence was found relating the coprophagy to diet or the dog's age. Coprophagic dogs were more likely to be reported as greedy eaters, and I've seen that in other studies. Dogs who eat fast, like the Great Famine is coming in 10 minutes, they're the ones who eat anything remotely resembling food, which, of course, stool does. The reported success rate of commercial products and behavior modification approaches were close to 0. Disappointing, right? We can still manage this, but teaching your dog to stop doing it, not going to happen. And that's why I said when we started this little meeting that punishment, forget about it. Ain't going to work. Okay? In part because if punishment, even if it's used immediately following an undesirable behavior, it's aversive and strong enough to get the dog's attention, and it's repeated consistently every single time. Punishment can reduce the frequency of undesirable behaviors, but you have to remember there's never anything about punishment that teaches a dog or a cat or a person what to do instead of the punished behavior. And that's mighty hard to do because this is something that some dogs just do. So again, punishment, we're not big proponents of it anyway, but it ain't going to work in this case to begin with. So here are the names of the 11 products that they researched to see if they were available. And back in the day when we thought some of this stuff would help, before we had this kind of study, we recommended a couple of these things. All of the best part about any of these is their names. I think that the marketing is actually pretty clever, which is why people buy them, right? So here's one, 21st century deterrence. Coproban, like ban coprophagia. Deter, distaste. Forbid, that one's been around for a long time. Here's one, nasty habit. Nature vet. I've known a lot of veterinarians in my life, myself included, and I don't think any of us have needed this product. Deterrent. Here's one you won't forget. Potty mouth. SEP. I have no idea what SEP stands for. Stool. Stop stool eating. Okay, logical name. And finally, stop tablets. Anyway, none of that stuff is worth your time or energy. All right. So, has anybody ever tried these products? Or anyway, let me know if you've tried to put any of this kind of stuff to use. The cats have left the table. I think they're disgusted with the whole discussion. Oh, are you coming back, Tony? He'll come back for more. So, here's where you should start. You know, honestly, if your dog eats stools in dog parks can be a wonderful place for a dog to get exercise and to play hard with other dogs, sniff around and investigate. Will you sit up next to me, girlfriend, because I'm going to show people something with you. Miss America, thank you, darling. They pick up parasites by eating stool. And dogs who go to dog parks is not a good reason to deprive your dog, if they play nice with their friends, and most of them do. You don't want to deprive your dog of that excellent opportunity to get their social needs met, because dogs are so highly social, and exercise. And so if you've got a coprophagic poop eater, you can use this method I'm about to share with you at a dog park. But don't stop going to the dog park. That's not a good reason to take that away from your dog, who really enjoys it, where it does your dog a lot of good. But what I encourage people to do, whether it's they're letting their dog out in the morning to eliminate, or whether they're at the dog park, is use a lightweight long line. You can go to a hardware store and you can get lightweight nylon cord, totally strong, and 20, 30 feet of it. You can tie a little clip to each end. You can use these lightweight little carabiners that people use to hang keys from their belt loop or their purse, that kind of thing. And you let your dog out there and you watch. In the cold weather, you can keep the door closed, but the long line is long enough to give your dog opportunity to walk around in the yard and sniff and investigate and defecate. Okay? Now, Miss America, let me show you something. A basket muzzle is a beautiful thing. People think of these as a way of preventing a dog from biting, which of course they are. This particular brand is without question the best thing on the market, and it's called the Baskerville muzzle, like Hound of the Baskervilles. And one of the best parts is lightweight, they're strong, and they come in multiple different shapes and sizes, so they fit well and they're comfortable. And if you see right down here, there's a little gap, and it's designed for putting a treat. You never put the basket muzzle on the dog. You put the treat here, and the dog chooses to put her face in it and take the treat. Okay? And when you train, you let her take her face out, and then you give her another opportunity to associate wonderful things with choosing to put her face in here. People often just thrust this on the dog's face, and the dog goes, "What the heck is this thing?" Okay? And you can see that she keeps looking for another treat. And it doesn't take a lot of repetitions before you can strap this on behind her head and then send her out with a lightweight long line. Okay? So, your dog's out there with a lightweight long line, and you're waiting, and just as soon as the dog is finished defecating, you call the dog, and you say, "Miss America, come." And she comes in, and as soon as she arrives in front of you, you give her a treat through the basket muzzle. Immediacy of rewards is really essential to making them work well. Just like punishment, if you were to use it, you would do it immediately following undesirable behavior, and with reinforcers, immediately following desirable behaviors. And somebody sent me a question or a comment. Here, let me see what's going on here. All right. There we go. Oh, Isabella, Oh, the European Fan Club. Isabel, you're so nice to come to these. And we're multinational, so thank you very much. So, if your dog is clicker trained, and this is a real easy thing to teach, and Miss America knows this thing because this combines it with a target stick. Maddie, honey, she goes by two names. Target, she touches her name to it, or her nose to it, and you immediately click because the way it's designed, let me show you, it has a button right there on the handle. Now the treat doesn't have to be given immediately because what the dog learns the immediate reinforcer is the clicker itself. Maddie, target, she touches her nose, and again my thumb's right there, and I fish around in my treat bag, and in fact I can take an extra second here if I want to, and she knows that food is coming because it always follows a treat. I mean a click, pardon me. Click, treat, okay? So anyway, if your dog is well trained to a clicker, and again, it's so easy to do, and it doesn't, for this purpose, it doesn't need to come with a target stick. You can get a clicker at any pet supply store for a couple of bucks, okay? And you teach your dog, you know, sit, click, treat, come, click, treat, down, click, treat, you know, fun stuff, jump through a hula hoop, click, treat. Well, they pick it up immediately, okay? And what starts out as what we call a unconditioned or neutral reinforcer, the sound of the click, becomes something that they work for because, again, your thumb's right on it, and you push it immediately when the dog does something you like. So, dog's trained to the clicker, and you let her out there wearing her basket muzzle, and she runs out there on that lightweight long line, and you're watching, and as soon as she finishes defecating, or him, this is not just a girl-dog problem, okay, then you immediately open the door, and you say, Bowser, come. And as soon as he turns to look at you, you click immediately, okay? Because you're reinforcing him for looking at you. And he goes, oh, I know what's going to happen next. I'm going to show up and get a treat. So he shows up in front of you, and as soon as he's in front of you, you click again, and you give him a treat, okay? Which if you were wearing a basket muzzle, you get it through the basket, okay? And then it comes in. Well, you repeat this often enough, and what he learns to do is to associate finishing his defecation with looking to his leader for an opportunity to earn a reinforcer and earn a food reward. And they're really sort of two separate things because the reinforcer is the click, and he gets it immediately. So we've done a response substitution. Instead of him going out there and immediately finishing his defecation and eating his own stool, or hunting around the yard for the other dogs, which, by the way, these folks who wrote this question with Scooter, you really do want to clean it up as quickly as you can. But if you're out there, if you're watching him through the window, and you say, is he about to eat something? Well, even if you don't necessarily see the stool on the ground from a distance, if it looks like he might do something you don't want, it doesn't have to be just before he ate stool. You can do this anytime. Open the door, say, Bowser, come. Click as soon as he turns to look at you, and give him a tug with that lightweight long line so he knows, you know, okay, I'm going to do this thing. You give him a little reminder, set him up for success. And he comes in, wearing that basket muzzle, you pop the treat in his mouth. Again, you click first, he shows up in front of you, click, and then pop the treat through the basket muzzle. Well, how many times is he going to do this when he's outside and he's looking for stool, and then he looks to his leader? And you have to be consistent. He checks in with you or she checks in with you, and bang, you open that door, you say, Bowser, come, click the clicker, and then tell him to come when he, when he comes in, give him a little tug, and when he shows up in front of you, click again. He's wearing the basket muzzle. And again, you can rummage around. The treat doesn't have to be immediate. It's the clicker that is, and gets the treat, okay? So do that hundreds of times. Now, if you really want to get good at this, you can employ a gentle leader head halter. And it takes a while to get most dogs accustomed to wearing this, and you never thrust this on your dog either. This thing is something, and I'm not going to go through teaching a dog to wear this. We've done other Facebook Lives. I probably will again sometime. But, you use the treat like this, and the dog pushes her nose through the nose loop, and then this thing is buckled behind their head. Well, what's underneath this, and I'll show it to you on the foam dog head here. Put this behind this dog's head. The leash is attached to this little ring right here. So if your dog is out in the yard with a long line on the gentle leader, and then looks like he's going to start eating stool, or has just finished defecating, and you say, Miss America, come, that's you, honey, okay? And as soon as you do, and she looks at you, and again, you can set her up for success, because if you've got the long line attached to the gentle leader, then you give her a little pull. She goes, oh yeah, right? Yeah. And then as soon as she does, you click, because she did something right, and then you say, come, and she comes in, and when she arrives, you click again, and then, hold on, girlfriend. There we go. Wait a minute, I'm upside down. There we go, sorry. Then she puts her face, and then she gets the treat. She's already wearing the basket muzzle, okay?
She wants a treat? You've been clicking, and then she hasn't gotten a treat?
Oh, I just gave it to her.
Oh.
Yeah, the treat always follows the click. And the truth is that when dogs are really, really good with the clicker, you can give one command after the next, after the next, after the next, and following the dog's compliance with each successive command, immediately following it gets a click, but you can hold off on the treat until the end of 6 or a dozen different performances and give the click then. But the click is an immediate attention getter, because the dog learns that, bang, I just did something that I just got immediately reinforced for. And it completely redirects their attention to their leader to earn these things and away from that stool. But they do it largely because sometimes they think it's the texture. And people have tried varying different kinds of food for their dog and have found that it helps somewhat. So we suspect that the texture can be an issue. So you want to vary your dog's food. It can make it a little bit easier, we think. But those greedy eaters of all these other statistical causes for many dogs to do this, that's the big one. They eat like crazy, so it resembles food, and they're going to eat it. Okay? So we work our way around this thing. So anybody's got any other issues or questions, let me know. But, you know, I often talk about empathy during these Facebook Lives. You know, walk a mile in another person's moccasins, or put yourself in your confused or frustrated or anxious dog's position. But none of that stuff is related to coprophagy, eating stool. It's just not part of it. And so, honestly, is this a behavior disorder? It actually isn't. Is it a training challenge? No, it's not that either. It's just something that if your dog is one of the 16%, then it's a challenge that you need to face. And so, let me see, somebody else just sent a question. There we go. So, one suggestion, perhaps let us know beforehand about when you will be online and what the theme of the session will be. Actually, I promote it on my Facebook page, and if you like my Facebook page, you will get a notice that I'm going to be on. I usually, almost always, I get that promotion out there the day before on a Wednesday. Sometimes I get busy and I don't get it on there until Thursday mornings, but I typically do these on Thursdays at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, which is 8 o'clock Eastern. And next week we'll be doing one, although I've already forgotten what I'm going to do it on. I lay out the topics a month in advance. The week after that, I'm going to be giving a webinar through CC Animal Health on helping dogs and cats, mostly dogs, with issues related to stress around holidays. I know most of us aren't going to be having these big family gatherings on Thanksgiving. Please don't. It's really hard for our family because we're really bonded to our kids, and they're wonderful women in their lives, and we're not going to do it. We're going to do it next year. This is serious business. But anyway, you know, there's a lot of hubbub around holidays, even if you just your immediate family, and we're going to talk about that stuff, and I'm going to put that webinar, it's a 30-minute webinar, I'm going to put that on my Facebook page a few days before Thanksgiving. But next week, Thursday night, we'll be doing one. So, Isabella, if you want to just like my Facebook page, and if that doesn't work, I'll get my expert Facebook person to figure out why it's not working. But make sure you like the page.
Maybe follow too.
Yeah, follow and like. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Carolyn. Yeah. So,
Cindy's here.
Oh, and Cindy, is there a question from Cindy?
She's just saying.
Oh, hi again. Yes, Cindy. Wonderful. I'm glad you're here. I don't know if you came late, but you can play this Facebook Live from the beginning if it's really that good. So, anyway, the empathy thing just probably doesn't work with dogs, because how can one of us walk a mile in our dog's shoes if they're poop eaters? You know, I hope not. Anyway, but seriously though, take the time to build a foundation of choice and freedom for your dog, and trust. Because, you know, we want them to do things differently for us. And if we only try to get our needs met and there's nothing in it for them, then like people who we try to twist their arm into doing things that only benefit us, they can get obstinate. And then we're all frustrated. So, you know, back to these response substitutions, teaching a dog to come when called immediately after it might have defecated or about the time it looks like it's going to eat some other stool outside. By teaching him to do something else and immediately reinforcing and then giving food, this dog says, oh, there's something pretty darn good in this for me. And so I'll work for that, because it's a negotiation, right? Needs to be win-win. And you know, pets can learn anytime during their relationship with us that they can trust us not to intimidate them. So thank you for being here with us. Tony thanks you. Gaston is across the room because these are cats and they do anything they want to do, right? And Miss America, say goodnight to our friends. Thank you for coming. And thank you for joining me on these Thursday evenings. And I look forward to seeing everybody next week. And please remember to wear your mask. I'm in this room with my pets and my excellent wife, and we don't wear masks and social distance, but we do even with our adult children at this point, because we're going to get through this thing alive. That's why. Have a good evening.